What's your favorite part of the writing process?
Oh man, the moment it like, bam, it hits, and then it's just you go and go and you go and you lose track of time, and is a euphoria. Because before that, it's like a lot of this like, oh man, what if I lost it? What if it's gone? You know, like what if I'll never be able to write again. And then all of a sudden, everything, when you're just coming up with scenes just out of thin air because you wrote down an idea vaguely for a scene, and then you thought like, well, wait a minute, actually that would be a great setup to do this other thing later, and then now you start writing this other thing, and then you think like, well, actually good motivation for that would be if I, at the beginning of the film, had them do this thing. Like that, like blossoming is, it's euphoric. It's like incredible. Then when you're writing later, like the first time you're actually fleshing a scene out, that's fun because then you just like sit and you just envision yourself in the moment and you play the scene out in like 11 different ways. Like they say this thing and then they react this way, like write that down, and then, okay, let me try it again. They say this thing, but then they react in a different way. Okay, let me try that. That's actually really better. But the first moment when it's you stop everything. I mean, and it happens in the most random moments. I've been on planes, I've been like I've been like in office waiting rooms, like trying to go to sleep, and then you like sit up in bed and like run to your desk and like write everything down, stopping a shower because run to my desk like to start writing stuff down. Like it's euphoric. Like it makes you think that like there's something bigger than yourself that is going on in here, and then you just need to transcribe it, because I'm not sitting down and like analyzing like, okay, what's a good idea? Like it's just something just pops into your head and like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Until you have a draft and you send it to people and you're like, well, I did it. I just wrote Citizen Kane 2. Like, this is fantastic. And they're like, I don't know if this is very good. And you're like, just crushed every time. I don't think there will ever be a time where I'm not totally crushed, where somebody's not like, wow, Gavin, I think you are the greatest writer of all time, when I hand them the first draft. But it's important. It's just part of it. You spend enough time where you just love something, you're like, this is brilliant, and then you give it to somebody else, and that it's not in their brain, it's not their idea, and they give you good feedback, it's just a part of the process. And I think being crushed, it's like, it's good because it means that you really care. You really, really, really care about what you're writing, and you think that it's brilliant, But then, it's a test to like, what do you do after being crushed? Do you say like, no, you're wrong, you have no idea about what you're talking about? Or do you like say like, you know what, that's actually a good point, I didn't think about that. Or like, maybe I think you're wrong, but you know what? It's actually important to know that was your reaction, because maybe I actually do need to put in a little bit more context clues, or, like you and another person have said that, so maybe there is kind of an audience expectation of a certain thing, that I need to include in this script or in a scene or in a character. That I'm neglecting to put in there. Because ultimately, somebody's going to have to watch your film at some point, and you don't want that massive disappointment or that shock of people's reaction to be like once you've finished the movie. You want to make sure it's like, you're getting that early, so that way your script is like as solid as it possibly can be before then you start swiping the credit card and racking up a lot of debt.
But you say you're crushed, and that's understandable, but you don't strike me as the type that is going to be, not follow the herd, but you stand out as more of an individual to me. I don't see you wanting to blend in and worry about pleasing side. Like, you seem like you're your own person.
Yes, it's true, but I would say over time, I mean, there's certain people. I mean, the feedback depends on who it's coming from. If if I think you've got really extraordinary taste in music and you're really intelligent when it comes to perceiving art, and we align, then your feedback is going to be incredibly valuable to me. If you read it and you're just like, I just don't really like these kinds of movies, okay, irrelevant. I don't care really what you think. You're not really my audience. But, you still have to, you still have to get people to like what it is that you're making, and so if enough people are saying the same thing about my script, which is like, not that blanket it's bad, but hey, I'm feeling like this part isn't paying off enough, that's worth listening to, and I think over time certainly I've been very rebellious in that, like, any kind of feedback at all that didn't like align exactly with what I was trying to do, I'd be like, I don't even know you. This is like irrelevant to me. That part of maturing is understanding like there's value and truth to feedback, and that you don't have to please everybody, but you got to please somebody, or some people. Enough of an audience where it's going to be worthwhile to make another or to do it all again. So it's important. I mean, you pick and choose the feedback. You find little kernels that you think are important, and sometimes it doesn't mean that you have to like throw something away or that it is actually bad. Sometimes it means that you just have to write something new in order to, like, you have to like include some additional context or like build out your character a little bit more in order for that thing to like really hit and to pay off. But that's an important part of the process that to mature, you have to, it has to be a part of it.
So there's shades of rebellion.
Yes,
okay.
certainly,
Okay.
Like when, if I'm not interested in making something that is like conforms along every single line, like I'm gonna write a film that just is at face value is not going to be the kind of narrative that some people are going to want to watch. But it's going to be the kind of narrative that I want to watch. I watch plenty of movies that have like, your atypical narratives or, or a little bit more, maybe just character focus, slice of life focus. They don't follow the 3-act structure, the hero's journey or whatever. Like all of that is great for, certain kind of movies. But the movies I really like do stray from that, and I want to make films in that vein. But story is king at the end of the day, and as many years as I tried to resist that, story is king, and people do really care when you do tell like a pretty good story. And it doesn't have to be the Lord of the Rings. Like it can literally just be, it has to be about somebody that people like and that they are interested in and that they want to follow and see them like achieve something, gain something, or to learn about a lifestyle or to explore a certain theme, and so I've had to, over many years, many scripts, many projects, figure that out over time. For example, my last film, I was like, come out of this drama, which was so hard to make and was like such a tedious process. And I was like dedicated to the idea that like, I'm just going to make a straightforward absurdist comedy, no drama whatsoever. I don't want you to care about these characters. They're just really, this thing's just funny, just gags. Every 90 seconds, just something absurd happens. And I gave the script to people and they were like, this is interesting. You gotta have some kind of story here to tell. It's characters that I actually want to watch for 90 minutes. And that was valuable to me to know, because I think if it was just pure absurdity and gags, I don't know if I'd convince an audience to watch for 90 whole minutes. Now, I did inject some drama, you know, as kind of like an afterthought. And I was very focused on just the comedy and just the absurd moments. The drama and the characters was really just kind of like a vehicle to help guide the audience. But then when I finished the film, people were coming up to me and they were like, "Oh my God, that dramatic scene, like, oh, it hit so hard. It was so powerful, so profound." And I'm like, what? Really? But I'm like, okay, like it just shows that like people they really do want to sink their teeth into a character or to a story that is like somewhat relatable or is like somewhat endearing, and that is valuable, you know. And I would have had a lesser of a film if I had not included things like that for an audience. As much as I wanted to like reject it and say like, no, there's no drama here, this is all just absurd, funny nonsense, like it was important to follow that feedback and to include that, because at the end of the day, I think most audiences, they do want something like that. And if that helps them care about my film more, then yeah, it's wise to include it.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to give away spoilers, but there were some, I guess you call them like landing points maybe, where
yes,
a kitchen scene and scene with a family member, we'll just leave it at that. But humanize them.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And that is important. If you're going to spend 90 minutes with somebody, you do want to care about them and care about what they're doing and want to see them, you know, achieve whatever goal it is that they're set out to do. And as much as I really hope that the comedy moments land, you know, it's to have moments like that to help hold the audience's hand through it and you know, make it more meaningful when things are achieved, then that's great, and it's worthwhile. And it's also made me realize, like, okay, I can do drama, you know, like I can write drama, I can shoot this, and like it's helped give me some more confidence that, you know, if comedy is what has always come naturally to me and has felt like it's fun, easy to do, and drama is a little bit scarier or more daunting, like to have people react to those landing moments in the way that they have has made me think like, okay, you know what, maybe next one I'll be more confident and I can lean into that a lot more, you know, and which I hope to do.
We have a quote from Ethan Cohen. Like any kind of writing, there are good days and frustrating days, but even frustrating days can be rewarding sometimes. Can you relate to that quote?
Yes, absolutely. To me, writing is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it gets sore. And so, you know, like, so I try to write every day, every single day, even if it's just an hour, because if I spend too much time away from it, I will find reasons to not go back to it. You know, spending every day. Now, not every day is going to be really successful. Some days you're just going to stare at a piece of paper like this for an hour and a half straight, and you write something, and, you know, and then you like go for, you know, and it's like that is like, it's not as rewarding as like, oh my God, I wrote 10 whole pages today. God, that feels good. You know, I'm making it through my outline. But you're there, you're spending time in the world, you know, of the character. And you're spending time with that story, and you're using your brain, and you might come up with like one important detail, you know, or just like one little motif to include, you know, but like, you're just there's value in just spending time as like, you know, just as an exercise, to exercise your creativity and to dedicate your time to thinking about your story and about your characters and like what it is that you're trying to achieve, even if you're not making broad strokes that day. I sat down, like the last script that I wrote was this. I was trying to write a new action comedy, and like I spent a week just biting my knuckle, thinking like, I just had nothing. I was coming up with a couple of scenes, had an idea for a character. I was just spending hours just like kind of like trying to brainstorm this thing, but it wasn't clicking. But the whole time I had this other idea for an erotic thriller, an entirely different film. That kept popping up in my mind for some reason. And I kept being like, go away, I'm trying to write this like action comedy right now. Like I don't have time for you. And then like after a week, I barely had an outline. And I was like, okay, let me just like get a couple of these other, notes down from this like erotic thriller that's like been bothering me. And then like, pen to paper, 6 weeks later, I have a full feature for that thing. So like that came out of the frustrating process of trying to write an entirely different script. But it was because I forced myself to sit down at my desk for like 3 hours straight and just think, then that idea was born out of that process. I'm gonna get around to that action comedy at some point, like I'll have to sit down and think that one out. But like, I don't know, it's so hard for me to start, it's like the hardest part is just starting, and so like I will tell myself, I'll give myself some arbitrary deadline, like, Monday afternoon, I'm starting. The Monday afternoon comes around, I'm like, I do have to grocery shop, So then but I'm like, Tuesday, I'm starting, But then Tuesday comes around and I'm like, I have that appointment later. I just can't write today, And then I'm like, well, let me wait. The weekend is when I'll start. And then the weekend comes and I'm like, well, now Monday. I've wasted a whole week. If you just sit down and try to write something, like, you will spend so much time telling yourself not to write or finding some excuse not to write. Just sit down and start writing and see what comes, And also, if you can't come up with any ideas for like the script that you're writing, or like you're desperately trying to write like the important climax scene, but it's not coming to you, just write a scene about them like, buying a car or going to the grocery store. Write a scene about them like going through a breakup, or about, like what's their morning routine, they're having an argument with their dad about, whatever, it just spending time thinking about this character. What do they do? How do they think? How do they react to people? Just that creative exercise is so valuable, and it only grows the more time you spend in it, the more effort you put into making writing or that creative expression a part of your day, a part of your routine, the easier it is to approach it, instead of like, oh my God, the big day where I finally start writing my script, Like, if you just make it a part of your everyday life, it's not so daunting. And then it's also not as hard when you're writing, because it's like you're familiar in that space of sitting down, being in the world with the characters and following them and learning about them and taking them on a journey.
Do you have time to write on your lunch hour?
Notes. No way. I need like 4 hours. I need 4 hours straight. Sometimes like I'll do an hour and then maybe I'll like give up because I really am not getting anything. But like I need a 4 hour space where I sit at my desk, don't get up, don't do anything, just like sit there. And that's 4 hours. That might be 21 minutes of writing, over the course of 4 whole hours. The rest is just like staring at a piece of paper thinking like, what am I doing? What is supposed to happen next? But like, I'm on the lunch break, that's a great time for like random detail pops up. Let me jot that down, I'm on the bus, let me write something down, like something along the way in your day. You can never predict when like that thing that you've been stuck on finally pops up. But if I want to write like intentionally, I want to sit down and actually make my way through like a decent portion of my outline, I need like a full afternoon. Like give me like a Saturday, and I can sit down at like 10:30, 11 a.m. in the morning, and then like finish by late afternoon, and like have a whole day where I'm like I I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to soak in this until like I'm finally at a place in that flow state, you know. But it requires a significant amount of time.
Yeah, public transportation, I don't care if it's train, bus, metro, whatever it is such a great way to get ideas because so much is coming at you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a combination of, because I'm exactly the same way. I can ride on a train. I can ride on a plane. There's something about being sedentary with a ton of activity going on around you, which is so funny because I can't write at like a coffee shop. I don't know. It feels like I'm in a little bubble in that space while there's still the world going on around me. You know, whereas like then I'll sit in my apartment and like I'll be trying to think and then like a bird chirps and I'm like, oh, I lost it. That stupid bird just blew it for me, you know? And like then I get up and I gotta like wander around my apartment for a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. And usually in those moments where I'm like riding on a train or like on the bus or something, that's like when I can't help but write. It's like it's just it's coming. I gotta like jot this down before it's gone, basically.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.